And welcome back to Who Would Win. Being it is the first Who Would Win in October, we are into the Halloween Who Would Wins. All right. At least once a week, I'll be doing Halloween Halloween themed, horror themed, supernatural, anything that would be in the same range as Halloween. So, be it horror, science fiction, or monster, those will be the kind of theme we'll be going with. I'm not going to solely focus on that though, just to speed along the whole who would win lineup and stuff like that. So I'm thinking every other who would win during the weeks leading up to Halloween, I'll focus on a Halloween-based one, and then have the other one be just a standard who would win, whatever one's next up on the list. And then come the week of who would win, I think, seeing as the week of who would win goes for a minimum of 7 days, which actually I think this year it does end on October ends on a Sunday this year, right? Yes, it does. So, no, sorry, it ends on a Saturday. I take it back. It ends on a Saturday. So it will still be a week of Who Would Wins. It'll go all the way into Saturday. But the following Monday will be a non-Halloween-based one. I think in the week of Who Wins, I'll have 2 that are not Halloween-based, but have the majority of them be Halloween, horror-themed, whatever. Point being, though, we are on to the first one, and that is Pennywise. Hello, Leprechaun, versus the Leprechaun. Hello there, me clown boyo. This one comes to us from, and the beauty of these ones, the horror theme was, they're one of the more frequently requested verse types of matchups I get. So I get a lot of people giving me the repeat suggestions. So Shadow King, Lucas Rivera, Dylan H, and Moonstar all gave me this one. So there you go. Now this is a unique matchup. Both are very supernatural. Both also have abilities well beyond just the physical. Like, you put Jason against Pennywise, Jason doesn't really have a lot in the way of power. Like, he doesn't cast spells. In like the game, apparently he can teleport. But yeah, like, he's got mass regeneration, but that's about it. Freddy's a different story, though. He's got powers, stuff like that, but he's not magical per se. He's more supernaturally demonic and all that stuff. The Leprechaun, though, is legitimately magical. Pennywise is an eldritch being from the Macroverse. So this is an interesting matchup. Again, let's go down. Again, I've done Pennywise so much at this point, I know it all pretty much off the top of my head. So he is from a race of beings, I believe they're called Glimmers. I might have to double check that part, but he actually is, technically it's believed Pennywise might actually be a female. But Pennywise is actually from a race of being. Pennywise does have a species. Whether or not there are more versions of more of Pennywise's species out there, or if he was the last, who knows? Because he had a counterpart with Maturin. So, and I take that for what it's worth. But he is a being from the Stephen King universe, from the Macroverse. Now, if you don't know what a Macroverse is, I'm sure you do, but just for clarification, so you know I know, the concept of the Macroverse is this: our universe is kind of like in a dome. However far our universe expands, that it's in that dome. The Macroverse, though, exists outside. It's basically the next part of that dome. So it's almost like it's like a layered sphere, if you will. So our universe is a ball, and then the next layer is the Macroverse, and if there's more beyond that, there you go. And he is a eldritch being from beyond our universe, from the Macroverse. Now, and I'm going to keep going here because it's portrayed as a guy. It is implied it actually might be a woman, or it might be a female. But now Pennywise's true form, technically it's the Deadlights, but it is said that Pennywise, who was it? Eddie gazed into the Deadlights and he didn't die. He saw like a hairy mass of fur and teeth. That was he was gazing in the Deadlights and he did see something that represented Pennywise's true form. However, our brains just can't comprehend. It is basically cosmic horror in that sense. In the sense that we are not mentally equipped to handle the true form of whatever Pennywise really is. It is just a being beyond our mental comprehension. So the closest we can comprehend apparently is the spider form it takes. That's the closest our brains can really handle. I was about to say cope, but I kind of stuttered, so it sounded like I went. But Pennywise does have a form. Pennywise, should note too, isn't the top dog in the Stephen King universe. Pennywise is high on the totem pole, but he's not the king of the totem pole. There are individuals who are equal to him or are in fact greater than him in power. But Pennywise is a very powerful being within the Stephen King universe. That being said, Pennywise's preferred form while on Earth is, in fact, Pennywise the Dancing Clown, because clowns scare people. He likes to have fun, play with his food and eat it. As he kind of puts it, fear is basically salting the meat. It makes us taste better to him. Because if you go in the movie, which isn't necessarily with the book per se, Pennywise took a giant bite out of that guy's armpit. The guy, I don't think that guy was afraid. He was kind of nearly unconscious, but he wasn't afraid. Pennywise was probably just hungry, so even though it maybe didn't taste as good, he still took a bite. Pennywise could still eat you regardless. That's the thing. I don't think anyone really puts that into consideration. Pennywise gets stronger from fear, sure. And he thinks we taste better when we are afraid. But he can still eat you regardless. So it's like, we just won't taste as good. That's all. Now, if you're standing up to him, conquering your fear, all that, that's different. Then that's a different scenario. Pennywise, though, in terms of all of his abilities, he can do more or less anything. He's just limited to the physical constraints of whatever form he takes. So the fact he's a clown, yeah, he might be a little stronger than, say, your average person, but he's still limited to the physical physiology of a clown of that build and nature. But Pennywise can kind of freeze time temporarily, manipulate reality to whatever really fits his need. He can psychically pull whatever your fears are out of your head and manifest himself as that, transform into whatever he wants. Gets stronger from fear. Levitation, illusion creation. Yeah, there's really not much Pennywise can't do. But Pennywise, as we know, isn't invincible. Pennywise has been defeated by a group of children, no less. But apparently there's some not chosen one, but there was some specific reason they were able to defeat. And there's the ritual of Chud, which in the book we're really not going to go into. The ritual of Chud is something different than the kid orgy scene, if I recall. I think they felt like that was I think King's explanation for that was it helped them bond together. God almighty, what were you... King, I know you're doing a lot of coke back in the day, but come on, man. Did you even... one of my favorite... Sorry, I'm going to go off maybe a minute and a half tangent. It's Silver Bullet. I'm pretty sure it's Silver Bullet. I would always joke with an old coworker of mine, great guy, about, how King describes a scene where he goes and a werewolf in human form is taking a leak in the bathroom. And the guy looks, and he's a guy, for some reason, who's not the werewolf, goes and sees this guy's junk. And King is vividly describing the werewolf's junk. And we're constantly joking, having that joke conversation. King's like, okay, so King, in this scene, you're describing a werewolf's junk. That's right, I'm describing the werewolf's junk. But he's in human form. But it's the werewolf's. Yeah, but does it look different as a human? No, it looks like a human's penis, but it's the werewolf's penis. But he's in human form, so all you're doing is describing some guy's junk. But he's a werewolf. It's like, cocaine! You'll do some weird stuff on it. Anyway, I just felt I had to share that story because that was always a fun story. That fun little thing I did. I miss that guy. He was a good guy. I know how to get in touch with him. He doesn't work where I work anymore. Anyway, so Pennywise can be defeated, obviously, in the book The Ritual of Chud. And let's be very clear right now. In the book, in the universe of Stephen King, yes, that is, by all account, the only way to beat him if you're mortal. Obviously, like I said, there are individuals within the cosmic classes that do outrank him or equal to him in power. But yes, as mortals, that was the only way we can beat him. But it's the same principle I like to use this example a lot, but you take someone out of their respective universe and put them in a different universe, they don't measure up, or they're well overpowered. A perfect example of this would be, we'll take Wolverine from the X-Men. And I use this one because it's the prime example. It's a great example, I think. Wolverine. In the Marvel Universe, Wolverine's nowhere near the top dog by any stretch in these, but he's a powerful individual. His healing factor is adamantium, his skills, his fierceness. He's a cool character. He's a powerful character, but there are plenty of characters that can tear him to pieces. You put him in, say, My Hero Academia, he's one of the toughest son of bitches in that entire series. There are maybe 2 or 3 characters that I can think of off the top of my head that might be able to put him down ultimately. And I mean, kill him. Eri, yeah, because you can rewind him to non-existence or before the adamantium. Overhaul, maybe, because of the way adamantium works, I couldn't guarantee that one would work. But maybe. And maybe Shigaraki, because with his decay quirk, but again, the adamantium poses a serious problem with that. And Wolverine is not a freaking idiot. So, yeah, it's a matter of you take the individual from the respective universe, put them in a neutral fight against someone from a different universe. Do they scale to that person or not? So yes, I know in the book it's Ritual Chud that's the thing that defeats him. It might be the only thing that us mortals can use, but there's other ways to kill Pennywise. It's again, he's not that he's not the king of the cosmic hierarchy in his world. He's again high up there, but not the end all be all. But yeah, so the Ritual Chud, which isn't really going to play a factor here. Truth be told, you might be afraid of him, but getting over your fear of him is a big step to beating him because, he feeds off your fear. If you can either not be afraid of him or just overcome that fear, you will weaken his power. It helps if you're in a larger group, but still, even one-on-one, there's certainly help. Anyone with any sort of magical abilities or cosmic abilities would possibly stand a good chance too. Leading us, segue, into Leprechaun. Leprechaun, obviously from when was the original one? The 90s. I know that. Jennifer Aniston was in it. Leprechaun, hold on. When was that one? When was that movie? 1993. They did, how many films did they do again? Leprechaun, In the Hood, Back in the Hood, In Space, the one we were at the Vegas. There was a different Leprechaun movie that wasn't about him. That was actually more set in Ireland. It was more like a demon kind of thing. And then there was the reboot. The next one they did recently. I think he did 6. Amazingly, it actually made a profit on only with only 8.6 million US. Maybe it made more overseas. The thing is, it was only made on $1 million. So take that for what it's worth. Anyway. So the Leprechaun, he's a wisecracker. He's very, mischievous. He's very particular about his gold. Leave his gold alone. Honestly, he'll leave you alone. That's the thing. In fact, when you look at the Leprechaun films, the only reason the Leprechaun really is going amok is because people keep messing with him. People keep bugging him. Seriously, leave him alone and you're fine. Leave him with his gold. We're greedy, I get it. So that's why the people keep looking for him and finding him. How do they keep finding him, too? That's the other thing. Shouldn't he be good at hiding? Anyway. So, yeah, as long as he has his gold, he'll be fine. He won't bother you. If you have his gold, and and if you've been messing with him, you're in for a world of hurt. Because it's very hard to kill this guy. So the Leprechaun's abilities we know he's magical, but it's really not well defined on how he is what his magic can do. We know he actually has regenerative capabilities because he's been blown up, shot, beaten to hell, had his hand cut off, and is still able to come back, piece himself back together. So he's got pretty high regenerative capabilities. He's also surprisingly strong. I think he's scared. He was able to snap a police officer's neck in the first film, despite his size and the fact that the police officer was taller and larger than him. And he was able to punch his arm through a guy's chest. I think is it Back in the Hood or in the Hood, whichever one he was in the Hood. There was 2 of them, but in one of them he punches his hand through another guy's chest. So he's physically stronger than he appears. But the question again comes into, how does his magic really work? There's definitely limitations, because it's not like he's omnipotent. He can sense where his gold is, but he's able to track it down. But it's not like he can just suddenly appear to where it is. He does, because otherwise he wouldn't need go traveling to find it. But he knows this location. He just can't go to it for some reason. He seems to be able to only do some certain things when there are other people around. Like, people seem to need to be in his view to do that. Oh, and yeah, he also a guy pissed on his corpse and it's Leprechaun in space. He traveled up his junk and then birthed himself out of that. So, however that worked. So he did that. I'm trying to think of everything I can remember he actually did. He can shrink himself into smaller parts. He also, I think, did he grow bigger on his own, or was that through some science in space? I can't remember that. But there was that. He can teleport to some degree, but it's it's kind of like Jason, where I think there's clearly a limitation to how well he can teleport. I think he's got to be screwing around with people in order to be able to teleport. And then he can magically just have stuff appear. Like, he pogoed a guy to death when there was no evidence of a pogo stick in that room. This is all from the first movie too. I'm just going up the first film. Then there was whole him making a freaking race car out of just parts in seconds. It's really ill-defined what his power set really. If he bites someone, he'll turn them into a leprechaun, kind of like a werewolf. Come to the green side, me boy. Like that was the thing. He can possess others apparently to some degree. It's really ill-defined how his powers really work. He seems to kind of be able to do whatever he wants within a certain limit. Like, it seems almost like a Toon Force thing, where if it's funny, he can do it. That's the thing. But it's nowhere near the same level of power as Toon Force, as he's been defeated. Which kind of goes into the weaknesses, despite the fact that he's pretty much can't be killed by normal means, like blown up, he will eventually regenerate, chopped into pieces, he will regenerate. He's still only so tall, and even though he's technically stronger than your normal person, or surprisingly strong for his size, you could still kick him around and he'll still, get kicked around. Also, he has a shoe shining fetish. Throw shoes at him all day and he won't be able to do anything. Then there's also obviously the four-leaf clover, which is apparently his kryptonite. In the original movie, just keeping the four-leaf clover on the box that he was stuck in was able to keep him stuck there for years. Hell, even though bullets won't really do anything to him normally, holding a four-leaf clover weakened him to a point where his bullets basically paralyzed him temporarily. And then O'Grady, I believe that was his name, O'Grady, was going to burn him with the clover until he had a heart attack. So that would apparently have killed him. At the end of the movie, he basically they put a four-leaf clover on a gum, stick it down his throat, which means he's now just got his own kryptonite down his throat, and they blow him up. Now, he clearly came back from that, unless all leprechauns look the same. So, not trying to be racist, I'm just asking you the question, because they're a mythical creature. Unless it's not the same leprechaun from the original movie. That's the thing. Even though it's the same actor, it's never addressed. I don't believe it's ever addressed. Let me actually check that real quick. Is it addressed that it's the same leprechaun from the first movie, or is it a different? Because that's the thing. It's always Warwick Davis playing the character until that last one they did. But it's never addressed. But it's always in different scenarios. Like, it's always in different scenarios. One's in freaking space on a different planet. So the question becomes then: is this the same leprechaun, or do all of his species just kind of look this way? And is it like a Great Kazoo kind of thing? So I'm looking at the plot right now. He tells a slave man named William May that he found his perfect bride. Once he marries, Leprechaun promises to grant his freedom one day. Blah blah blah. Free him from Leprechaun. freeing her from the Leprechaun. Promised to marry. Leprechaun says that she will be his once she sees his 3 consecutive times, which is one of the dumbest things ever. Yeah, here's the thing. From everything I'm seeing here, this does not imply this is the same Leprechaun. When Maury drives drunk, goes forcing to cancel a date with girlfriend. Sorry, I'm just reading the plot. Departure, Leprechaun emerges from one of the tour shops, an Irish tree that was presented at the home of Houdini. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, despite the fact that it's the same actor, obviously, and I love Warwick Davis, come on, who doesn't? Yeah, I think these are actually all different events with different leprechauns. I think all the leprechauns are like a Great Kazoo scenario where they all sound and look the same. Either way. Well, then you should treat them like that. No, they all have the same power set. Get off that. Last but not least, because we're at the 21-minute mark, I haven't even given you my verdict yet. You can, because he is Fae, Fae, and from the English and Irish folklore, Fae can be hurt with iron. So iron will also hurt him. Because he was kept in an iron cage at one point. Or no, an iron safe at one point. He got trapped in there. Until he was able to trick himself out. Or trick someone to let him out. So, who wins in this fight? Assuming that these take place in the same universe. Pennywise, the leprechaun, maybe follows some people to Derry, Maine for his gold. That's very logical. And he ends up running into Pennywise. And Pennywise, for all of Pennywise's knowledge and experience, I don't think Pennywise has a really good response to what he's seeing right now. He's like, "Ooh, what are you?" It's like, "Oh, I'm a leprechaun, me boy. What are you? The Jolly Red Giant? Excuse me now, I've got to go get me gold." It's like, "They're mine. You can have your gold when you're done." Actually, that, quite frankly, would be how it probably ends. Just say, "Do they have your gold? Well, I'll just eat let me have the children and you can have your gold." Because Pennywise doesn't give a shit about gold. He doesn't care about money. He's a he's a billion years old, at least. So I was like, that's how that actually is. Like, that'd be a team up. Like that. Oh, that'd be horrifying. And Leprechaun would probably enjoy it too. It's like, this is so much fun. But no, because this is a fight, they have to fight. It's like, not until I get me gold, you can't eat them. It's like, you're really starting to piss me off, you little twerp. They're mine. And it's like, and eventually it gets down to maybe they have one of those clashes where Pennywise wins, then Leprechaun wins, and then the ultimate confrontation on who wins. The problem for one of these guys is this. Leprechaun really doesn't have a reason to be afraid of Pennywise quite at the point where they'd be fighting to the death. Pennywise has probably shown off a little bit of what Pennywise is capable of, but nothing that Leprechaun's hasn't seen. And Leprechaun, being magical, is able to actually put up a decent fight for Pennywise. Trick Pennywise, maybe throw some things at Pennywise, like throw rocks and stuff at Pennywise without even trying. The problem here is this. Leprechaun in his own universe never fought anyone else supernatural. He fought against science with Leprechaun in space. And there are curses and stuff within. So magic exists, clearly. But he never went toe-to-toe with another supernatural being. Pennywise actually has. I mean, him and Matern have gone at it before. I doubt Matern's the only person he's ever fought, too. Now, again, Pennywise lost the kids, but still. And Pennywise's power kind of far exceeds what we've seen the Leprechaun do. Because the Leprechaun's powers are not very well defined. He can do a lot of things, but he's not... What's the best way for me to kind of put it? He's not nigh... His powers don't go into the realm of godlike. Whereas Pennywise, within the right circumstance, does. So, when the fight goes down, Leprechaun's probably throwing tricks and stuff like that. Maybe he tries to snap Pennywise's neck at one point. Good night, boy. And after a while, Leprechaun is starting to feel uneasy about what he's dealing with. Because, again, as far as we know, he's never had to deal with something even close to what Pennywise is. And he just suddenly bites off Leprechaun's arms and throws him out. Oh my God, you son of a bitch, you. But Pennywise immediately spits it out because I doubt Leprechaun tastes very good. Hell, he looks like he's rotten. It looks like a leper half the Leprechaun. I get it. He looks like a leper half the time, which I think might be the intent. Leprechaun gets his arm back, or he attaches it, but then Pennywise finally just says, screw it, just goes like giant spider form, and just starts beating and crushing the living pulp out of Leprechaun, who eventually does get back up and regenerate, basically, because he can't kill him that way. But the problem comes in then, it's like Leprechaun's realizing he's got to get out of there, he can't beat this guy this way. But Pennywise isn't having any of it because he senses Leprechaun getting back up. Like, he's not. It's like, no, he's seen that this guy can take a hit. So he's waiting to see if he comes back together, which he eventually does. And just says, screw it. And then just deadlights open up. Now, the ultimate question here, the deadlights, being Pennywise's more or less true form, will cause any normal person. Excuse me. Ooh. Will cause any normal person, any human generally, to go A, insane, and then die, assuming you stay long enough, or B, just die. That's what the deadlights ultimately do. And in the movies, the recent ones, they actually make you float, Georgie. How did the deadlights stack up to Leprechaun? Again, it's the idea of, sure, and our world, in the C.B. King Earth, which is more or less our Earth just with some supernatural put into it, any normal human would just is done. Let's hypothetically say you put that into like the DC world, doesn't fly. Pennywise's deadlights would not work on a lot of characters the same way, just in DC alone. So how does that stack up with Leprechaun? I will say this: Leprechaun's probably seen a lot. But Leprechaun comes more or less from a similar universe to Pennywise, where, yes, supernatural exists, but it's not like superheroes or anything like that, or where there's many aliens running around in a utopian kind of, not utopian, but, or like Star Trek, or hell, even Alien Nation. It's not like that. I think the deadlights would ultimately affect Leprechaun. I don't think it would kill him because he's A, not human, and B, he is probably a bit more mentally, he's old, so he's probably a bit more mentally sound, mentally capable of handling it to some degree, but I don't think he gets out of that. I think it probably puts him like some sort of comatose state, whether it be permanently or temporarily, but ultimately that's how I see that playing out. Also, eventually, I think Pennywise could lock on to what Leprechaun's afraid of, be it either iron or gold, or losing his gold, or four-leaf clover, and eventually just summon a four-leaf clover. Now, whether or not the materialized four-leaf clover works the same way as a real one, use whatever logic you want in that. Ultimately, though, this is a fight that I think Pennywise takes long-term, just because Pennywise's actual power set is just far more effective and far more well-defined than what Leprechaun's is. So I'm going Pennywise in this fight. What would you take? Do you think Leprechaun really could beat Pennywise? I think there's probably a scenario where it happens. I just don't know how that scenario would play out. And truth be told, these two would actually probably team up and have a lot of fun together. I think they'd be besties. Anyway, they're sitting in the diner. Everyone's just staring at this killer clown, and this leprechaun clown's eating a kid's arm. Leprechaun's just having a whiskey. Just it's like, what's he looking at? We're just having a tea. Yeah, go screw yourself. We're having fun. I can see that happening in our. I would actually really like a spin-off with that. Spin-off The Adventures of Leprechaun and Pennywise. Best friends till the end. Anyway. That's my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Put in the comments below. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Ideas for Wood Win, Star Wars, Superhero Magic, what if, anything we'll do on the channel. Put that in the comments below as well. I'll get to that at some point. So thanks for watching. Hit that bell for notifications. I'll see you next time, folks. Later.